Thank you for being here and welcome too. And thank you very much for all your work. And I speak on behalf of a lot of people, I think. Yes. And for your new book, can you tell something about it?
Well, this is the last 3.5 decades of my practice and research in conservation of biodiversity, evolving agricultural systems based on biodiversity to regenerate the planet as well as people's health. It begins, of course, with the multiple crises we face, the crisis of climate change, the crisis of species extinction, the water crisis, all of which are driven by an industrial model of agriculture. 50% of the greenhouse gases that are being emitted come from industrial globalized. But this is the same system that is driving out species. 75% of the bees have gone extinct. Land, 75% land is degraded and desertifying. And that's at the root of the refugee crisis. 75% of the water.
That's a very interesting point you made, because I don't think many people understand that the refugees also have to do, even the wars have to do with.
Absolutely, and the impact on politics. That's why when industrial agriculture is forced on countries and people get uprooted, like in every system of ecology, we know eventually it impacts you. The refugee crisis is the consequence of the globalization of a non-sustainable model of farming that is destroying the planet and its climate, is destroying the soils everywhere and destroying people's ability to live in their homes, but it is also destroying our health. And the solution to all of these problems that seem too big to address individually is a simple answer. Protect your biodiversity, work with biodiversity instead of chemicals to control your pests and your weeds. Use biodiversity to maximize nutrition, because only biodiversity produces the diversity of nutrition that our body needs. We are 90% other microbes in our gut. We are a walking gut microbiome. We are just the shell. The real we are the trillions of species that are transforming the food that comes from the soil and the water and the seed and becomes our blood, our brain, our bones. This is the continuum of life and continuum of health we need to wake up to. We need to redefine agriculture and redefine food with this deep knowledge of science and deep knowledge of ecology. A science that's a science to kill is not the guide of how to continue to live well.
In the meantime, we let it happen, isn't it? Because we didn't realize that it was all about us, what happened to ourselves. So actually it starts in ourselves.
Well, yes, we let it happen because on the one hand, our brains were deadened to not think. We became external input machines, just like chemical farming is an external input system. Bring the fertilizers, bring the feed. We were made external input, human beings, who were told that chemicals grow food, GMOs grow food, we feed the world, and we weren't looking. We also became indifferent to the signals of our own living, intelligent body and our gut. The epidemic of chronic diseases is now waking up humanity. And we are realizing the health crisis of the planet, which is the ecological crisis, and our health crisis, and the health crisis of democracy are one crisis.
Beautiful. So it starts with us. We need to wake up, and it starts with ourselves.
Exactly. We have to be the change we want to see, as Gandhi said. Yes. Thank you.
You have. So Gandhi was a big inspiration.
Very big inspiration for me.
Yeah.
Because actually the former Prime Minister of the Tibetan government in exile in India comes to our Earth University. We run a youth Earth University at Navdanya, and we do a course every year on Gandhi and globalization. And Samdong Rinpoche, who till recently was the Prime Minister, of the Dalai Lama's government, said the two books that have inspired me, the Dhammapa of the Buddha and Gandhi's book on freedom. So, but if I had to go to jail and I could only carry one, I would carry Gandhi's book, because Buddha tells us how to live with personal tragedy. Gandhi tells us how to live right and non-violently in a brutal empire. So Gandhi tells us how to be non-violent in a violent system.
That's it. Everything has to do with peace also.
It is about peace, and the agriculture that we practice and promote, and the thinking that has grown out of this, it's really a thinking of peace. Peace with the earth, peace for the farmer, peace for the bees, peace for our gut microbiomes, because everyone is facing a war.
And living in harmony
Yes.
with the earth, with ourselves,
Yes.
and with each other, and with the animals.
And all wisdom traditions. These are the words they use. Harmony, happiness and well-being. We thought we could dump them to consume the next thing, even if it was bad food that would poison our bodies. It's now time to wake up.
It's time to wake up, and it's also time to realize how much power we have.
Exactly. Yes. Together,
Only
joining.
together, of course.
Again, come back to our gut microbiome. Trillions of species. But are they working alone? No. They're working in harmony. And I always say, if 1 trillion of them in our bodies could act together, why do we as human beings wonder how we can cooperate? Cooperation is the law of nature. Diversity is the law of nature. These are the laws we have been made to forget. We were made to think the monoculture of the mind is the way it goes. The militarized mind is the only power. We have power in non-violent creative form. That's the power we need to reclaim.
Do you have an organization that people can say,
Yeah, we
yes,
have
I'm in?
the movement Navdanya,
Yeah.
and Navdanya means 9 seeds. And we also have a European program, which is based in Rome and Florence. And we work on the whole spectrum. We work on the seed and the seed saving and the biodiversity. We work with small farmers to make sure that unjust laws don't wipe them out. We work with citizens on how to create local food systems so that their duty to themselves and their duty to the earth can become a new expression through food and good eating.
So it's something that actually is very natural. Huh?
Yes.
It's also the way people work together and take care of each other.
Yeah.
It's like nature, actually.
Yeah.
It's so simple.
It is.
Nature shows us
Yeah.
how to live.
Absolutely. The contrived, the manipulated needs violence. But the self-expression, the self-organization, which comes from within, doesn't need violence.
I always say the only problem is the fear, because if you can make people afraid of shortage or whatever, you have the power. But if you are not afraid, they don't have power over you. And I think the fear is the biggest problem behind it.
I've done another book recently out in India. It's called Oneness versus the 1%. And I've shown in that how an economy of greed, where 200 people controlled half the wealth of the world 5 years ago, and they dropped to 62 3 years ago, they dropped to 35 2 years ago, 8, and this year they are 5. 5 billionaires control half the wealth of the world. That economics of greed goes hand in hand with the politics of fear. And that's what all our societies are living through. So overcoming fear, and that fear can only be overcome by remembering we are on one planet and we are one humanity. That is our true identity, not the division. That's a false identity. One planet, one humanity.
If everything is one, we are one. We recognize ourselves in each other. And if I'm angry about something, it's also to recognize something in myself. So I always think this fighting means we're also fighting ourselves. If we fight with the world, we fight with ourselves. So can we solve things in ourselves and then solve it in the environment too?
Yeah. Well, I think feeling outrage at the violation of hungry children, climate change, species disappearing, people being uprooted from their land, that this outrage is a moral response. And shaping that outrage into action to correct the wrong is a natural thing to do. So we should not fight it and resist it, we should distill it
Yes.
for a new compassion.
Wow. Yes, that's the answer I wanted to hear. Yes. Do you know Amma from India?
Yes.
South India? Of course you know. I once asked her what to do with all the child labor. Are you not against child labor? And she said, yes, of course, I am. But you know what? We don't fight with all the big companies and everything. We build schools. It's so simple. So build the new world together.
Yeah.
Be stronger than
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
part. Yeah. That's actually what you say. Huh? Realize your power as people.
Right.
And realize the power of doing things together.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this book is coming in Dutch too, eh?
Well, I hope so. That's why I've carried it, because there is such a strong group of scientists and young people. We were at an international congress yesterday where students from all over Netherlands were attending. And they are hungry. They're hungry for the latest combination of scientific data and scientific principles. And this is not just a theory-based book, but it is an evidence-based book on what we've actually, the changes in the soil. Look at the organic soils on every indicator, you know. So when they keep talking about evidence-based science, this is the evidence.
Yeah. Okay, great. And you said it's not only for young people.
No, it's for everyone, and it's for anyone. I think every climate change activist should read this book.
Yeah, but not only the young people who are changing the world.
No, everyone's changing. I think grandmothers are very important for our times, because they know something others have forgotten.
Okay, I think we need to end or something, yes. So, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Let's see, maybe we can do
Thank
something
you.
more later.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I welcome your viewers to come to Navdanya in Dehradun.